Now joining us now is Paul James of Yaga Africa. Paul, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, of course, I'm sure you witnessed the inauguration of the new president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, today at the Eagle Square. I'd like to know your thoughts and especially, what you make of his inaugural speech.
I think for me, it is so sublime, so profound today that Nigeria is witnessing yet another transition. I think the seventh or so successful transition since the return to the Fourth Republic. And I think that is worth celebrating even before we talk about the inaugural speech. And for me, what was even more profound today, at some point I had goosebumps when I saw President Buhari exiting the stage and then President Tinubu taking the mantle of leadership, and I think he understands the responsibility that comes with that. Before now, he had made a lot of, that is President Tinubu had made a lot of comments about hitting the ground running, and I think we saw it in the speech that he made. At some point, I thought it was even an earth-shaking speech, especially when it began to touch on the pillars, or if you like, what he will want to anchor on when he eventually takes over the mantle of leadership, especially talking about economy, talking about security and all of that, which are the strong pillars, if you like, for driving a successful nation or successful economy, especially when he made a speech about removing fuel subsidy. At some point, I have to look around the room, who is really making this speech today? Nigerian president, and especially on the first day of taking the oath of office. I think it is most profound, but then it's also about how Nigerians will take this and or how Nigerians will understand this. We wait to see in the coming days how he intends to roll out this, especially when Nigerians will want to begin to study his policy direction, but importantly also the kind of appointment that will be made, especially some of the offices that need to be filled immediately. Offices like, for instance, his spokespersons, office like the Secretary General, like the Chief of Staff, when all of those begin to come on, but especially the Security Advisor, which I thought is even most important now, because I think for Nigeria's problem at the moment, if we're able to fix the challenge of security, to a large extent, most of these issues that are confronting us as the nation will be addressed. Then by the time we move also into other sectors that he had mentioned, for instance, things about electricity, talking also to the state governors to also try to see how they could generate their own electricity, and especially to the central bank that he wants to do some house cleaning. He wants to see how he can harmonize, have an harmonized exchange rate. I think for me, like I would also always say, it is most profound, but we also wait to see how all of this will be put into effect in the coming days.
All right, great stuff. Paul, go right ahead, Veronica.
Yes, Paul, thank you very much for your observations. At one point, he made reference to 1 million jobs for the digital economy, and we know that young people constitute, those below the age of 16, constitute more than 60% of Nigeria's population. Do you think those initiatives will inspire hope in the youth population, who were also very central to the democracy of this country? What do you think it will give optimism for around job creation and employment?
I think he has also shown some commitment, especially in your engaging young people. If you see the people around him at the moment, most of them are young people. And then in his speech as well, he had made reference to that he was going to work with young people and he is going to also work with women. I think it is important to even understand their issues before he begins to talk about how to solve these problems. Making commitment or making assurance for 1 million jobs, I think it is good, but importantly, there is a need to understand what are these aspirations of these young people. As we have them in the cabinet, I hope that they will also reach out. He had also said that he's going to operate a government that will listen. I am hoping that he will listen to these young people and then take their own ideas on board, that even as the government promises to do that, government cannot do that alone. While there is the promises of those enabling environment, he had even asked foreign investors to come in and invest, the government will be open and will listen to us. So I'm hoping that as they do that, all of those ideas will begin to come on board, and then we'll see that, because we have seen these promises in the past, but there are no indicators, no indices to measure this. So as we talk about this 1 million job, I am hoping also that other stakeholders that are watching will begin to come up with some indicators to track and see how the government will be able to achieve this noble idea or noble initiative.
All right, Paul James, before we came to you, we were looking at the acceptance, the speech from the new governor of Delta State. And I know Yaga, we had you when we were covering the, aftermath of the elections. Yaga was in all of the states, I think, monitoring things. Beyond the president, how important is development for the states? The new governors that are coming in, the governors that have been re-elected, Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State being an example. How important is development in the states as well, in addition to the president? How much focus should we be putting on the states and state governors in addition to the president as well?
I think there is so much at the moment concentration in the center, and then if we have the state to be developing in their own right and the manner in which that they can develop, I think it will reduce less of this concentration in the center, and we'll begin to see also how all of this development can truly go around. So I am, very optimistic from what some of these governors have said, and the antecedent also of some of these governors, that just like the president had promised to hit the ground running, that they are also going to do that. But I am also worried about political patronages, especially if you think about the emergence of some of these governors, and then hoping that from this day they will put a hard stop to all of this and truly understand that they are now in the driving seat, and then they are now the the commanders in chief of this respective state, that they are going to do things that truly reflect the wishes and aspirations of the people. We will be observing as stakeholders, especially as CSOs. I am sure, like I say, even for while we want to track what the government in the center will want to be doing, there will be stakeholders across the state that also will be monitoring and be trying to give some of these campaign promises, which most often are the ones that translate into the policy direction of most of these governors. So we will pay keen attention to what they will be doing. Most of them will also may want to focus on this idea of doing 100 days in office. We want to see ideas that will span beyond even those 100 days, but ideas that in the next 4 years, by the time they reflect, they will truly be happy that, I'll be glad that they were able to put those ideas in motion and are able to help people the way and manner that they should help people.
Well, Mr. Paul James, during the new president's inaugural speech, he referenced the fact that our constitution gave us a nation on paper. He says it is our responsibility to actually develop nationhood through strengthening our bonds, cooperation, love, and tolerance, which all sounds very good. But I'm wondering what advice you would give to this administration on how to actually unify the country.
Well, if you look at the numbers from the other previous election, I think this is the first time that we will have election in the last 20 years or so with numbers in less than 10 million, about 8 million or so voted in for the president. And he had admitted that not very many Nigerians truly voted for him or like him. I think the first task before the president is to see how we can unite all. And not only the president, he may not be able to work in isolation. For us as Nigerians, it is also time to begin to think that politicking is over, governance is next, because the government cannot also function without the cooperation of Nigeria. So I think we have to put first our differences aside and give the government the benefit of the doubt. He had made those commitments about what he wants to do and how he wants to unite the country. He had even asked the other contestants that have contested with him, in different forums, he has said that he's open to also working with them. While we may not know exactly how he will want to achieve that, I think, like I will say, supporters and the likes, we should all put Nigeria first, and then all other interests, I think, will follow much later. So, it is time, like I will continue to say, that we put politics aside now and then face governance.
Great stuff. Paul James, Yaga Africa, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We'll see how things work out going forward for the new administration.